And let's start. So before we go any
Okay.
further, let's just offer our
Yes,
kind of
please.
officially open it up here and offer our respects to Srila Prabhupada as we pray to him for his blessings and his presence. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pricharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskacha Deshitarne Vandeham Shigaro Shitavar Kamalam Shigurun Vaishnavam Cha Shirupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha. Jai. Now
I just want to ask Kaylin how she met you. How did she find us? Yeah.
I think it was just luck or Krishna just guiding. I was a bit of a lost soul when I was traveling because I was traveling around the UK about 2, 3 years ago. I just had a bit of a downturn experience from my recent Hare Krishna local community. I had just broken up with my partner. I was sort of in the middle of studying and working, and I just needed to find myself. And during that time, I found Galva on Facebook, and that's how I met
Yes.
Narahari Dasa. And then
Mhm.
I became very encouraged to kind of turn my trauma traveling journey into a Krishna conscious journey instead. So I went to visit temples in the UK, and that was really cool. And then I was sort of in contact with Amaradas in between to kind of asking him personal questions, communities I could be part of. And then I came back to New Zealand about 2 years ago. And I was hoping to kind of reconnect with my community again, hoping to kind of start anew, start fresh. Like, I haven't seen anyone for 2, 3 years. So I thought, well, I'll give it another shot and start slow. And then they decided they don't want to see me in their services, their programs. I never really inquired why. Like, but I won't get much into that.
yeah,
And
we
then
can,
that's
we
when,
can
yeah,
we can skip
that's
the details,
when,
but bottom
okay.
line is she met Amara, one of my godbrothers,
Yes.
who is very, you know, he's
Very good guy.
he's a really great guy, and he really likes to welcome anybody, no matter what their, you know, whatever their preferences are in this world, whatever their inclinations are, everyone's welcome. And so Amar referred her to
Wonderful.
to
Good.
me.
That's why I want to
Welcome.
know how she met you. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Nice. Very nice.
that's how it happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
I have
Thank you for
his
asking.
books. They're in my storage unit. I need to clean out my storage unit. We still haven't moved in. Do you have his books? Do you have Amara Prabhu's
No,
books?
no.
Me? I
Yeah,
don't either.
yeah. I recommend them highly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Very
yeah,
good.
he will. Amar can really make the point through Shastra, through Scripture, how people, no matter what their sexual preferences are, going way back, everybody was honored. Everyone was honored and has a perfect place in society.
And you're like that,
And
Gurudev. You're also like that.
because
Yeah.
Prabhupada was like that,
Yeah.
because
Prabhupada is.
Prabhupada was very open. Anyway, he didn't get, and because he didn't see whether someone's gay or straight. The soul isn't gay. The soul isn't straight. It has nothing to do with it. These are just roles that were karmically given. It's the it's the hand we were dealt in this life, and we can have fun with however Krishna made us in this life. We don't have to make any adjustments. Just add Krishna to it, and have fun with being who we are. And that's how Prabhupada treated everyone. So anyway, so that's where I got that from. I didn't make it up. That's certainly my inclination anyway.
And next week we'll have Starla with us. She's going to come, and then she'll join us next week. She'll come with me, and then she'll come on her own. Yeah.
Great. So, wow. I normally like to go with hearing anyone's epiphanies from the week, but we've got some really interesting questions here. And so why don't we just go right to the questions, unless somebody has something that they have to tell us that happened in the last week or
real
so.
quick.
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So part of I'm doing chaplaincy now, but part of the reason, well, the biggest part, we felt called to come back here to Wichita, Kansas from Hawaii. So I was there with Gurudev. Moved from Hawaii here to Kansas to be with my mom, who's turning 100 this Sunday.
Sweet,
And
sweet.
She is going blind. She's losing the use of her hands, her arms. Movement is getting harder and harder. Walking is harder and harder. More pain. Her hearing, without hearing aids, she's deaf, but with hearing aids, you have to shout and be close. And, she's dropping things on the floor because she's trying to pay her own bills, but now she can't see, and so there's stuff all over the floor. And yesterday, a lot of the day, she was sobbing. Normally, she's not like that. Normally, she's a very positive person, but she was sobbing. And she said to me, I'm vanishing. My body is just vanishing.
Wow.
And I talked to her about, well, your body is certainly slowing down. It's certainly going through a lot of changes. But your spirit? No, that continues, and that will continue to touch all of us. Now, she's really a saint, but I just realized how difficult it is when one is associated so much with the body to be seeing it. They're conscious and they're seeing it gradually go, and it's just like I'm watching this whole process. So, I was kind of reminding her of, in Christian teaching, we're not, I mean, who we really are is much more than the body. And so anyway, that was just a realization I wanted to share.
You know what I was getting from that, among many things, Tirtha Prabhu, is your mom's 100, and it's pretty amazing. Not many people make it to 100, and things are starting to collapse and fail.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I'm not that far off from 100.
You got a ways.
That's if you make it to 100. So let's say, most people, this is going to happen to them at like 80 or in mid 80s.
Oh, right.
So it's real. It's like waking me up, like when you're describing that so beautifully and so vividly. It was just like,
yeah, it's just like, and I thought about your story about Yamaraj, where he said, well, I was giving you notices and clues all the way along, and it's like, and now we're seeing more and more of them. So
right.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that story.
Sweet. Okay, so let's move on to thank you, Prabhu, for sharing that. Let's go to I'm going to do this in order of who sent what. And the first was Francia. And hi, Narahari. It's been a busy week, still on chapter 18 because of many stopping points. Remember, chapter 18 is a summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. On page 706, there were two. One, emphasis on being attracted to the personality of Godhead. I am hooked and committed by his personal relationship with me. And two, followed by the words, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry. But here's my question, since I'm baffled on what to say to some of my daughters who are extremely anxious these days about our country and the world. What do you find helpful to say to people who are good people but haven't read Bhagavad Gita? Is there something written by Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, that would help? What would be the first step for busy working people to get started? I pray for them, but stay away from preaching. As always, I look forward to seeing you and sharing Krishna in the group. Aloha, Francia. Well, that's a pretty esoteric question. I'd like to hear Tirtha Prabhu also speak on this. My thoughts are, we always have to bear in mind, Francia, that we have free will, and Krishna is in everyone's heart. There's a beautiful verse, Dva suparna suyuja sakaya samana vriksham parishasvajate. That means that there's two birds. Dva means two. Suparna means birds. Parishasvajate. Together. Samana vriksham. Samana means like along with love. They're lovingly sitting together. Parishasvajate in a tree. So Krishna is in the heart of every one of us, every living entity. And he loves every living entity unlimitedly. I mean, it's unlimited how much he loves your daughters. And even Donald Trump, believe it or not. I think only Krishna could really love him. But Krishna is there in our hearts, and he's waiting for us to turn, but he doesn't want to mess with our free will, because he knows sooner or later we'll turn back to him. Sooner or later we'll turn to Krishna. And there isn't so much you can do unless, because you're feeling out the situation. You're kind of feeling, you said you're not preaching to them. And there's probably a reason you're not preaching. Nobody who knows your daughters better than you do. And you know you're their mommy. And you know what they're ready to hear and what they're not ready to hear. So I think your idea of not preaching is, trusting how you're feeling this out is probably the right thing to do. But one thing you can always be doing is just setting the example, that they know that what you're doing with your life and how satisfied you are with it. And the fact that you are advancing in spiritual life, according to all the scriptures, the Vedic scriptures, your daughters are going to benefit from it. No. It's kind of like, let's say, someone, they leave the world, but their assets, get divided up, so to speak. It's not a perfect analogy, but they all will benefit because of the fact that you're a devotee. And we see in the example, the life of Srila Prabhupada, his children did not turn out to be great devotees. And who could have a more powerful, empowered father than Prabhupada? I mean, he's, it doesn't get any better. He's the one that spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, but his children didn't take to it. Now they will in their future life. They've got, they got a rich wealth in the family, so to speak, and that's going to come to them, because there's a reason they took birth in the womb of Prabhupada's wife. So we just have to have faith that Krishna is going to take care of them, and there's nothing we can do to force free will, because that's what Krishna doesn't mess with our free will. But they're benefiting tremendously. Tirtha Prabhu, would you like to add something?
Hi, Francia. Good to see you. Great to see you. Miss you all. Miss Hawaii.
Oh, we do too. We miss you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, that's a great question. I think continuing to do your own prayer life, your own spiritual connection, which it's very, very strong. You and I have talked about this privately, and as you indicated just now, it's very strong. You're all in. And that can't help but to touch their lives. That can't help but to influence their lives. I think of you've probably heard me tell this story about St. Francis. He was known as a great preacher. This is in the 1200s. Known as a great preacher. He lived in poverty intentionally. And someone traveled from a long distance to follow him, another monk, a brother, who wanted to follow him to learn about preaching. And all day long, St. Francis was helping others. He was praying. He was doing the work so that brothers could eat. He was giving service to others, but without saying a word. He never said anything. And the person who was following him was very upset. He said, I've come all this way to learn how to preach, and you haven't said a single word all day. And so finally St. Francis spoke and he said, preach the gospel always, and if necessary, use words. So,
I love
right?
the story. I love the story. Perfect
So
story.
so you're doing that. You're doing that. And your daughters have their own journey. And you love them very much. God loves them very much. So I don't know. I kind of agree with what Gurudev was saying. But I'm thinking of reading that I would recommend, because that was one of the parts of your question. What would you asked if Lord Chaitanya wrote something, not so much, but, you know, and so I'm going to pass this back to Gurudev. What would you suggest as maybe some basic introduction that might be of help to Francia's daughters?
Yeah, I don't. I'd have to think on that for a while, but it sounds like they may not even be ready to read something. I think you answered it perfectly with your describing Saint Francis. That was perfect. He didn't have to preach. He was setting the example,
Mm-hmm.
and Francia is setting such a perfect example that and they're just going to benefit from it. So I wouldn't rock the boat any further than that, because the last thing we want to do is turn them off.
Okay. Yeah, I hate to see them so worried about the future, about the present time, and
right.
Do they believe in God?
Oh yeah.
Well, then you can always tell them again that my favorite verse that Tirtha Prabhu shared with us. That where was that from?
Hebrews.
The Lord, yeah, the Lord will shake the earth and shake everything that is shakeable until only that which is unshakable remains. Is that pretty close?
That is.
So
Good job.
God is you can explain in those terms that God has arranged this world in such a way to bring people back to Him. And God doesn't want them. Nothing's broken. There's nothing to fix. The material world is set up in such a way that we're going to go through periods where, especially Kali Yuga, where the material world is scary and frightening, and that's what God wants to do. He wants us to get us uncomfortable, so that we'll turn to Him.
Yeah.
You could tell her that not a, I don't know if it's a Christian thing or not. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of God. I get mixed up as that's Christian or that's from the Bhagavad from Prabhupada. But yeah, but not a blade of grass is moving without God's will. So yeah, you don't want to don't get too pushy. Okay, let's go on because we got a lot of really good stuff here. Okay, okay. The next question is a relatively easy one from Rasika Pujari. Okay, Hare Krishna Gurudev. I want to say something that's just a minor thing, and that is, can you see here where it says Hare Krishna Gurudev, Pamho,
AGTSP?
Yeah. Okay. This
Please
is short. This is
humble
a
obeisances.
right. Okay. I would say that this is used all the time. Pamho, please accept my humble obeisances, and AGTSP, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Devotees do this all the time when we're writing letters. I personally don't like to do it. I found a trick with my computer where I can hit, if I type Pamho, it types out, please accept my humble obeisances. It's a shortcut. And the same with all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Or actually, I have a different one for my disciples. If I type Pambo, it says, please accept my humble obeisances and blessings, or something like that. So, but what I want to say is, if you're writing to your guru, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just put AC, Pam. I wouldn't write. I don't think anybody ever sent Prabhupada a letter with Pamho. This is just an etiquette thing. Does this make sense? I wouldn't address my guru with Pamho. I would write out, please accept my humble obeisances, right? All glories to you, or all glories to all glories to you and Srila Prabhupada, what have you. But I'd write it out, like when you're writing to your guru, or like a Prabhupada disciple or someone senior to you. For your peers, it's fine. Personally, I never liked it. I always like to write it out. I've done it in the past, but I never felt good about it, so I stopped doing it. And I found the trick where it just types it automatically for me. Okay, so that's part of the lesson, etiquette. Okay, there's no offense or anything, no, but I've just had to do it a little sweeter. Okay, so the question: Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Rama, Nrisimha, Varaha, and all other incarnations are his plenary expansions. That's a quote from Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now, this is not Gita. Krishna and Rama are said to be the same with all of Krishna's other incarnations. I'm not understanding how they can be the same when Krishna has childhood pastimes, but Ram, Nrisimha, and Varaha do not have childhood pastimes. By the way, Ram does have childhood pastimes. He's Ram. Yeah, he's young. He lives in the Gurukula. He goes to the Gurukula and stays with his teacher. So yeah, is the same only referring to their potency and their source of power coming from Krishna? The rasas are also different. Krishna, a playful cowherd boy, Ram being an ideal king. How can they be the same? So this is kind of a Chintaveda Veda Tattva, that Krishna is simultaneously, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they're all, in a sense, the same. They're all Krishna, but they're in different moods and different lessons and different pastimes and so on. So, for example, as you said, Krishna is a naughty little rascal boy who's always getting in trouble, and it's so endearing. because he's so cute with his naughtiness. And he's sharing that to know what it's like back in his most intimate abode in Goloka. But so he came to this material world and performed those pastimes. He also performed pastimes for others who might find it difficult to see God as a playful little rascal that urinates on the floor and he steals things. Ram set the perfect example. He was the perfect ideal character. It's all Krishna, but he's playing different parts, and he's literally in different moods. Let me ask you a question, Rasika Pajar. Do you have different moods that you get into from time to time?
Yes, Gurudev. There's a working me, there's a home me, there's a shopping me.
Right.
There's a traveling me.
So it's all you. It's all you, but you're in different moods. It's kind of like that. It's all Rasika, right?
Yes, Gurudev.
But you're doing different things, you're playing different parts, etc. So it's simultaneously, they're different, but they're the same person.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, Gurudev. Thank you.
That's how I would answer that. And then we have Malati's question. Okay, and that's our last. Okay. Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisance. Let's see how nice she did that. Because I just copied this from what she wrote. So she did not do PAMHO or AGTSP or whatever it is.
Yeah, I never do that. Yeah, I don't ever do that.
Okay, so that's good. It's an interesting lesson. Okay. Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and to both of my Gurudevs. Okay, great. My question for the week is the verse, Atho Shraddha tata Sadhu-sanga Bhajana-kriya and Anartha-nivritti syat, tata Nishtha Ruchi Asakti tato bhaves, tata Prema Bhajana-kriya and Anartha-nivritti Prador Beva Bhavet Kramaha. Okay, so this was spoken by Rupa Goswami, and it's describing the stages of advancing, of going through, of attaining from the beginning of our spiritual practices to the end of our spiritual practices. Okay, so this gradual development of love of Godhead for a devotee interested in Krishna consciousness. Frequently, this verse is compared to the 8 Shishastakam verses given by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can you explain how I can understand this comparison? I'm not sure if I explained it myself clearly, but I can personally clarify this question during our Sangha. Thank you, Gurudev. May I always remain at your lotus feet. Malati Manjari Dasi. Okay. You have probably heard, you probably got this from Giri Govardhan Prabhu, who I've heard him mention many times in class about how what we often call we Shraddha to Prema, these stages or steps, and he mentions that there's a connection between that and the Shishastika prayers. Okay, be honest, it's something I haven't really studied or paid a lot of attention to because it's not coming from Prabhupada. And it's coming from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is wonderful, but my main focus is Prabhupada. What did Prabhupada say? What's his focus? And it's interesting, if if Gary Govardhan one day, you could ask him if he would sort of explain that, but he could make a whole seminar out of it. But it just doesn't, it doesn't interest me that much to go that direction. I've got so many things that I'm studying and focusing upon. Now, so now that we're talking about this verse, we can talk about the verse as I understand it. And that may be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an important thing that we have to understand is that Shastra, or this the verse that you've talked about, is showing the gradual step by step, how we start out, and I'm going to go through all of them. How we start out, adho Shraddha. We start out with some faith, and gradually build, all the way up. And this is a good verse that Prabhupada teaches us, because it's right in the Nectar Devotion. I also want to point out, so we got it. Devotional service is step by step, correct? We agree on that? Malati, we agree?
Yes, Gurudev, yes.
Okay, good. But now we're going to disagree. Because,
Okay.
by the way, is this, oh, it's been bothering me.
Picture's crooked.
Picture. Yeah, I must have just banged into it when I went to, yeah, okay. That was bothering me. I was thinking, is it my camera? Why am I seeing that picture crooked? Okay, good. Now I can think straight because the picture's straight. We also have in our books that it's not gradual. It all sort of happens at once. So I will quote the verse here, which you'll hear Ashram Swami likes to quote this verse a lot. Bhakti parishanu bhavavratir anyatachaisha trika ekakala prapabhyamanasi yatashna tasyus tushti pushti kud apayanugasam. So this is where I believe it's Havi is speaking to, it's one of the 9 Yogendras is speaking to King Nimi in this particular verse. And this verse says, devotion, here's the exact translation. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things, these 3 occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger occur simultaneously and increasingly with every bite for a person engaged in eating. And this was Kavi who was speaking. Okay, so you got that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So which one is it?
Both.
So both. It's both. And that's been my experience in spiritual life.
Yeah.
I really feel both are happening. That I feel, I started at a certain stage and, but somehow right off the bat, because Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, right off the bat, Lord Chaitanya is so merciful. The holy name is so powerful that just by chanting the holy name, I started feeling in touch with God. It wasn't step by step. At the same time, I'm still seeing the step by step, but we're somehow getting that nourishment and that relief from hunger and that tushti pushti kud, feeling satisfaction, relief from hunger. We're feeling it all at one time, even though at the same time we're going from step to step to step. So let's, how much time we got? Yeah, we have time. So I want to go to some of my notes that I have. Where did I grabbed some of my notes because I really like this verse. And Okay.
Which one, Gurudev?
So,
The Bhakti Parishad Bhava? Which verse you like so much? The one you just quoted?
I like them all. I like them all. No, I'm saying you were asking about the Shraddha Prema.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. It's kind of my realizations on it.
Okay.
So these are the different stages. So the first stage is faith, where we get some faith. And my understanding of in the beginning, but before you even really are associating with devotees, there's kind of like we were talking about with Francia, that there's something in your heart. It's like an intuition, that an inclination towards really wanting to approach God. You may think, maybe there is a God, maybe there isn't a God, but maybe it's worth trying. It can also be triggered, and one with some things that Prabhupada said, that in the past we may have done some sakriti, some like pious activities that, or past spiritual credits that are somehow fueling in our heart just a little desire, maybe skeptical. We may be, like when I first started in spiritual life, I was quite skeptical when I was with devotees, skeptical and easily distracted. So when we're talking about in the very beginning, atho means in the beginning, atho Shraddha. In the beginning, there's some faith that we can never know for sure. It may just be the willingness of the soul is wearing down, and he's thinking, well, maybe let me give this a try. Maybe there's something to it, even though we're maybe even skeptical. So that's it's not strong faith at all. It's a glimpse. It's a little glimmer of faith that we start to feel. And again, that can be from pious things we've done in the past. It could have been by walking by a kirtan and that didn't even stop, but somehow that sound, was like a seed that went into our heart. We're just feeling who knows? It could have been a previous life. We don't know. Or it could just be the soul, for whatever reason, starting to awaken. So that's the faith that's being talked about there. Because one of the stages we're going to talk about is where it's, deep, profound faith. Okay, so number one is Shraddha. The very, very slight faith comes. And then Tata means Tata Sadhu-sanga. Tata means what follows next. What's next in this line is Sadhu-sanga. This is where one deliberately they're becoming a little bit serious about bhakti, and they want to associate with others who know more than we do. It's what's this note I have here that that we just start to feel a desire to want to be around holy people, and that's a good stage to come to, that we're now we're discriminating about who we really want to associate with. So for me, in the very beginning, I really liked hanging out with my buddies, my musician friends, this, that, and the other. But I also liked hanging out with devotees a little bit. And then, gradually that got better and better and better, and more I was relishing that association and becoming influenced by devotees. And gradually, as my desire to associate with devotees, let's say it's here, it's kind of like, well, maybe it's down here. My friends are here, devotees are here, just kind of starting. But gradually, the associating with devotees, I'm enjoying it more, and it's passing where I was with just, kind of mundane family and friends. So that's Tata Sadhu-sanga. That's the next stage where it's very, very important, the association. Atosha to Bhajana-kriya. Bhajana-kriya is when we begin following some practices like chanting, hearing, worshiping the deity. This is, it's like active sadhana in the beginning, but, maybe not so sincere. It's not steady. It's not like super sincere. It still could be in the beginning where I'm just checking. I have a little bit of faith. But we may not find a lot of joy in the practices of sadhana. So, so it's kind of like enthusiasm that's mixed with struggles and inconsistencies and so on. That's the stage of Bhajana-kriya. And then the next stage, fourth, is to know Anartha-nivritti syat. Now this is where we're now getting more serious about spiritual life, and we're starting to see things in us that we don't like. It's like a mirror. We're starting to see in our heart. We're starting to recognize for the first time my lust, my pride, my anger, my subtle desire, not even subtle, not so subtle, even gross desires to be honored. So the anarthas become visible, and we want to start cleaning that up. We want to start working on getting the anarthas, the unwanted things, out of our hearts. And Vishwanath, some of this I got from Vishwanath. He mentions four kinds of anarthas. Those from past sins, those from past piety. In other words, we may have done things that it may be from pious things we've done. Let's say we're have some charisma and we start teaching, but that can put us in a position where we're starting to get where a weed will start to grow. We'll start taking something that's it's kind of like back to Taranga Rangani. It's like we talked before about riding the waves of Bhakti. Because of our piety, maybe we're put in a high position. Quite frankly, I experienced that early on as a devotee. Maybe because of my some piety, I was able to teach and organize, and right away I was at some relatively high position after just no time at all. I was a temple president after 3 years of a major temple, and I could see how that there's weeds coming from that, and gradually had to clear that up. Offenses that we've done in the past. And so these things can come up from, these are anarthas in our hearts, and we don't like them, and we find them ugly, and we want to get rid of them. I mean, some things that we may thought of that were really good were actually very negative things from a spiritual perspective. Nishtha. So this is where the storm starts to settle down a little bit as we're on the spiritual path. Nishtha, we're getting steady now. It's not, we're feeling steady. This has now become, this is what we want to do in our life. It wasn't part of our life. Now it becomes our life. It is our life. As you've heard me many times quote the verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Vyavisyatmaka bhutir ekaha kurunandana bahushaka hinantasya bhutiyo vyavasayanam. Those who are on this path, ekaha kurunandana, they have one focus. They're one focus. I want to awaken my love of God. I want to get rid of all the ugly material anarthas in my heart, and I want to go back to Godhead. And this becomes our mission. That's Nishtha. That's steady. So the practice becomes our chanting, and it becomes dependable. It's very regular, and we don't think, well, should I chant my rounds today or not? I mean, that's we're beyond that. We the highs that we experience in spiritual life and the lows in spiritual life kind of stabilize. We get really steady. We're not, overly emotionally, too blissful, because sometimes that can be quite artificial. And the lows, the difficulties, things begin to stabilize and we become steady. Here's a note I have. I serve Krishna not because I feel like it, but because I am his. We chant our rounds not because we enjoy it. That will come in the end. Oh, hang on. Oh, this is a hospital. Hi, this is Captain Howie speaking. Okay. Oh, okay. You know what? I'm giving a class right now. Could you call me back within like any time after like 30 minutes? Oh, you won't be able to call me back? Okay, hang on. Let me just put this on. Let me put this meeting on pause. Hold on. And I'm sorry. I meant to hit the pause button. I hit the stop button. But how are we doing for time here? And how far did we get? Can we, let me go back to my notes. That was for a bone density test
Right.
that they wanted to do. So, okay.
You were talking about, you're at the stage of where we're stable and.
Okay, got it. Nishtha. Okay,
Nishtha.
let me go back to that. Okay, got it. Yeah, so Nishtha is when we're stabilized, and we're realizing. I know the last thing I was talking about was we're chanting our rounds not because it makes me feel good. We're chanting our rounds because the instruction of our guru, the whole line, that this is the Yuga Dharma, and we're chanting because we're begging Krishna to reveal himself to us and to purify us. And we know that Krishna is so pleased to see us chanting. So it's that becomes the focus of a devotee's life. It's not so much about what I enjoy. It's what Krishna is pleased with and what my guru is pleased with. So so it's very, very consistent without a lot of drama. Okay, 6 is Ruchi, where we're actually getting now some taste. And now I just want to remember what I talked about. This is the gradual step by step by step, right? But in my experience, I would say right in the beginning, I felt some taste, but it becomes really steady, that taste. So it's kind of shifting a little bit from being a duty that we have to do, like, I had to get up, chant my rounds every day regardless. And I've done that, but it gets to the point where I'm look forward in the morning to get up and chanting my rounds. It's very sweet. I feel Krishna's presence and Prabhupada's presence and the presence of my guru like anything. So it's certainly not at the level of Krishna Prema or anything like that, but it's a taste. It's becoming a positive. We're not at the goal yet, but we're starting to feel some genuine enjoyment in everything we're doing in our devotional activities. Of course, there's always going to be, we may like some things more than others. We may love hearing the Bhagavatam, that's our favorite thing. Maybe chanting is our favorite thing. In the case of Rasika Bajari, I'm sure just doing Didi Puja is his favorite thing. But that's okay. But we're getting taste. We're starting to get taste in our service. And gradually, when it becomes more mature, it's going to be no matter what we're doing. Okay. And then Asakti. This is where our attachment shifts from being attached to the practice to being attached to the object of the practice. In other words, we're starting to get real attraction to Krishna, and a real attraction to relationship with our guru and other Vaishnavas. I mean, a real serious attachment to it. This was the goal. We're starting to taste some of the goal is starting to come in. I would say that at this stage, actually Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says that at this stage, bhakti is no longer supported by an effort. It is the effort that is supported by bhakti. So it's no effort at all. It's natural absorption. And okay. Now we're right at the last two. Tato Bhava. So Bhava is the first stage of Prema, actually. It's the first sprout of Prema. And it's a real pure, true emotion that we're experiencing. The heart melts very, very easily. Some of the ecstatic symptoms are beginning to start, like tears, uncontrollably coming from our eyes, having difficulty speaking, our voice, good, like Lord Chaitanya says in the Shishatsika prayers, which is probably one of the ones that would tie in. Nayam galad ashru darya vadanam gadgatu daragira pulakaran nichitan vapukada tavanama grahane bhavishiti. Lord Chaitanya is saying, when will I begin to experience, tears flowing from my eyes, my voice choking, trembling in my body? These are secondary things, but anyway, that starts to happen in the stage of bhava. And also what starts to really naturally come at the stage is humility. We don't have to act humble when we're not humble. that humility is part of the soul. So the very deep humility comes where one naturally is thinking to offer all respects to others, because Krishna is so great that we start to feel so small that humility begins to awaken in the heart, and a real intense longing to finally really get Krishna, where we become possessed with wanting Krishna, and we really don't want to displease Krishna. So the devotion becomes alive, and it's described at this stage, it really becomes irreversible. And then prema, which is when it's not an emotion about Krishna. It's in existence with Krishna. We're there. We're with Krishna, and all selfish desires completely disappear at the stage where it's no longer, nothing is about me, and everything is about Krishna. It's all about Krishna, serving the Vaishnavas, serving my guru. We have nothing's left. That's, at least for me, that's been a very, very gradual stage, and I've got a long way to go. But we just are in love with, we're literally in love with Krishna. And even to think about any type of liberation becomes very, insignificant. So at that stage, we're living only for Krishna's pleasure, just like the gopis and the residents of the spiritual world. So I think that's basically, those are all the stages. Anybody have any questions on anything that I mentioned or talked about? One of the things, Malti?
Gurudev, not with Asakti or Bhava, but I'm thinking, does someone, those who have practiced longer, Tirtha Prabhu, yourself, can they go between, feel the different stages all in a matter of a day or something? Sometimes we're doing something for Krishna, or, not necessarily, like you said, it can go straight away to feeling some emotion for the Lord, but can there be like in different stages as well, they experience, not just one? And
well, that's what we talked about earlier, is that I definitely see the stages as I'm going through them. At the same time, I feel everything, some of everything at once. It's not like you're just locked into one. Like you're in one room and then you go into the next room and then you go. It isn't like that. I see them both unfolding. And you said that. I asked you which one. Is it is it step by step, or is it all start to happen at one time? And you say, both. And that's my experience, and that's what.
Right. And then even if both, and then when we recognize, like you were saying, we recognize our anarthas and have that feeling that we want to get rid of it. That seems to be really important as well.
Definitely.
So
definitely. In the Anartha-nivritti stage. And one of the interesting things about Asakti stage is that this is when, right now, we're trying to remember Krishna. And if we just kind of go into default mode, we're not really thinking of God. We're just either in neutral or thinking about something else. But we come together to talk about Krishna, and we chant our rounds. We try to think of Krishna, but our default is basically not thinking focused of Krishna. In the Asakti stage, our default is thinking of Krishna, but occasionally we forget Krishna. But it's the default changes. That we're always focused on Krishna, locked in. But it may, so that, anyway, that's mentioned in the Asakti stage.
I'm struck by the similarities between this and some Christian mystics. Like,
I'm going to speak about that. Go ahead.
Well, Teresa of Avila, she described stages very much similar to what is being described. I'm just very struck by it.
Nice.
Anyway, I noticed these commonalities.
Yeah, because it's all Bhakti. It's the same as Bhakti, developing love of God.
Right.
And giving up our material, our whole focus is God. So it's the same thing. So they just describe differently in different times. But the process is the same. Awakening our love of God. Okay. So we're a little past our time, so we can end here. Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to be with you.
Dave.
And Caitlin, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on board with us.
Thank you for having me.
And so you can come back. We have another class tomorrow at the same time. So if you want to come to that because that works with your weekend, right?
It does. And I'll try to bring a question each time.
Bring a question. That'd be great. Bring a question. So I'll see you tomorrow, and anybody else who comes on board. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.